Hey everyone, so we're going to have a sit down and we're going to talk about all of the new cards that are coming out with Tarkir Dragonstorm. I have not had a chance to sit down and actually look at the new cards that are coming out, so that's what we're doing today. We're going to take a look at each of the cards and we're going to see which ones look good and which ones are boo-boo. So let's get started. So we're going to start. We are at mtggoldfish.com and we are going to be looking at each of the cards here today. So whatever we have is coming to us directly from mtggoldfish.com. So we're going to start with the Mythics, I believe. So let's get started. All Out Assault is a 2-colorless red, white, and black enchantment that reads, in creatures you control, get +1/+1 and have Death Touch. That's pretty cool. When this enchantment enters, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase, followed by an additional main phase. When you next attack this turn, untap each creature you control. Okay, that is a Relentless Assault paired with creatures you control get +1/+1 and Death Touch. That is an Anthem. That is everybody gets Death Touch, and that is a Relentless Assault. That's pretty bonkers. Like, for 5 mana, that's a pretty decent effect. I don't know if this is going to see a whole lot of like constructed play in Standard, but this could definitely be a card to be seen in Commander. Simply because the mana cost of this spell is a little bit higher than most people are willing to play in Standard, but that is a really cool effect to staple onto an Anthem/Death Touch effect. Pretty cool. Let's move on. Beator, Kin to All. This is 2 colorless, a white, a black, and a green. So that's Abzan colors. This is legendary creature, Spirit Dragon. He's a 5/7 with flying that reads, at the beginning of your end step, if creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater, draw a card. Then, if creatures you control have total toughness 20 or greater, untap each creature you control. Then, if creatures you control have total toughness 40 or greater, each opponent loses half their life, rounded up. Okay, so this is a pretty cool effect, but if the term win more was printed on a card, it would be printed on Beator, Kin to All. This is definitely something that is printed specifically for Commander. This is never going to see play with its full effect in Standard. Someone might play it as just a 5/7 dragon in Standard, but to get its full effect is going to require going through a lot of hoops. And a lot of hoops that are going to need to exist without interaction being on the table. So, Beator, cool card. I do not see this seeing any kind of play. Next up, we have Call of the Spirit Dragons. That is 1 of each color of mana, an enchantment, and it reads, dragons you control have indestructible. That's pretty cool. I like that. At the beginning of your upkeep, for each color, put a +1/+1 counter on a dragon you control of that color. If you can put +1/+1 counters on 5 dragons this way, you win the game. Okay, that could be pretty cool. That could be an interesting alternate win con in itself, and I definitely see some people would want to try and make that a thing, like try to actually get that alternate win con. I don't think I would do it myself because it requires a lot of hoop jumping, but I don't think I would go for it, but a lot of other people would. Now, speaking of a fan favorite, we have Craterhoof Behemoth is back. 8 mana, 5/5, haste, beast. When this creature enters, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. Amazing finisher card. And this is exactly the kind of card that you should be very familiar with if you played against anyone who plays green in Commander. This is typically one of the best closer cards in the game for Commander, and the fact that it's coming back to Standard kind of makes me want to build around Craterhoof Behemoth. So maybe you will see me trying to make this into a deck pretty soon. We'll see. Next up, we have Death Begets Life. 5 colorless, a black, a green, and a blue. So that is Sultai colors. Sorcery. Destroy all creatures and enchantments. Draw a card for each permanent destroy this way. I will definitely be playing this card. And you know why? Because all of the white-based control decks right now run a critical mass of enchantments. And Death Begets Life is a fantastic way to just get rid of all of that. Granted, it's a bit expensive, like really expensive. It's an 8 mana sorcery. But if you are playing the new blue land that makes your spells uncounterable, that is going to be a very good answer for a lot of the control decks that are out right now. So keep an eye on Death Begets Life. Next up, we have Dracogenesis. This is a 6 and 2 red mana spell. It's an enchantment, and it reads, you may cast dragon spells without paying their mana costs. That's kind of wild. So that is a rooftop storm, but instead of being it for zombies, it's for dragons. That's pretty awesome. A lot of dragons are on the expensive side, so this could definitely net you some benefit. However, it does strike me as a little bit of win more when it comes to standard. If you can manage to get this out in kind of like the same way that you would get Omniscience out, you can definitely take over the game. However, if that were the case, why wouldn't you just try to cheat out Omniscience rather than Dracogenesis? I personally think I would rather go for Omniscience, but Dracogenesis is an alternate to that card that could be pretty cool, so keep an eye out. Next up, we have Dragonback Assault. 3 colorless, a green, a blue, and a red. Enchantment, so this is in Teamer colors. And this reads, when this enchantment enters, it deals 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Okay, so you get a bit of a board wipe with this. It's not that great, though, of a board wipe because it's really expensive. This same effect can be achieved by casting something like Slagstorm or Brother's End. But I'm not going to be too upset by it because it's decent so far. Next up, we have Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying. Okay, so that really sells why this costs so much. So the fact that it deals 3 to each creature and planeswalker feels a little bit negligible when you pair it with the fact that every time a land comes into play, you make a 4/4 flying dragon. That's kind of awesome, and I kind of want to build a land-based ramp deck around Dragonback Assault. I think that's pretty cool. Next up, we have Elspeth the Storm Slayer. This is a 5 loyalty planeswalker that costs 5 mana, and it has a static ability that reads, if 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. Okay, so the static ability is bonkers. It's already really good. That is the same effect that you would get from Mondrak, the Phyrexian creature card. So that's pretty cool. The fact that you get that effect attached to a planeswalker is really good, especially because planeswalkers have abilities. Creatures typically don't. And the abilities are +1, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. 0 ability is put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain flying until your next turn. And the -3 is destroy target creature and opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater. Okay, so the -3 is good because she can protect herself. The +1 is great because she not only creates 1/1 white creature token, she creates 2 1/1 white creature tokens because of her static ability. And then the 0 can be played as a great finisher, giving all your creatures +1/+1 and flying until end turn. I see no downsides to playing Elspeth Stormslayer. I can see a lot of like white based token control decks running Elspeth Stormslayer. Really good card. Okay, what do we have next? Jeskai Revelation is a 4-colorless blue, red, white instant. So instant, remember that. Return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. Jeskai Revelation deals 4 damage to any target. Create 2 1/1 white monk creature tokens with prowess. Draw 2 cards, gain 4 life. Okay, this does 4 things. Okay, return target spell or permanent. That's 1. Deal 4 damage to any target. That's 2. Create 2 1/1 white monk creature tokens with prowess. That's 3. And draw 2 cards. That's 4. And gain 4 life. That's 5. 7 mana to do 5 things. And you're also in blue, which means you can use the new blue land to make this an uncounterable spell. That is a bonkers card. I feel like I have to play this card. Like it's really, really cool. It's a big splashy spell that does so many things. It is a really cool card. Yeah, I definitely will be playing this card. Absolutely. Next up, we have Mox Jasper. It's a 0 mana legendary artifact that says tap, add 1 mana of any color, activate only if you control dragon. So here's the thing with Mox Jasper. This card is very limited in scope. It's very limited in what kind of deck it can go into. It has to go into decks with dragons in them. And the bad thing about it is it says if you control a dragon, not if you behold a dragon. This card sucks until you get a dragon on the table. Now, granted, you can get a dragon on the table turn 1 if you play a or turn 1 or turn 2 if you play the 0/0 haste dragon from Dominaria that comes in with +1/+1 counters based off of how much mana you spend on it. So that is a possibility, but it's pretty bad when you try to force something like that out just to get access to your Mox Jasper. That's not the best play, you know? So I'm not a big fan of Mox Jasper. Next up, we have Nariv, Heart of the Storm. It is a 1-colorless red, white, black. So that's Mardu colors. And that is a 4/5 spirit dragon flying. If a creature you control that entered this turn would deal damage, it deals twice that much damage instead. Okay, so this is a card that wants to be played with a lot of haste effects. So it basically acts as a Furnace of Wrath for creatures that attack with haste. So that is a decent card. For only 4 mana for a 4/5 flying that has that effect, pretty decent if you can manage to build around it. And it's not that difficult to build around it because it's already in red, which means that you have access to many of the good red haste effects, like the red Glimmer Dog from Duskborn gives anything that comes into play this turn haste and +2/+0. Then you have things like what was it? Something Reunion. It was one of the Brotherhood's War cards that makes you discard a card, draw 2 cards, and you can sacrifice the enchantment to give everything haste. There's a lot of ways in red to give your entire team haste. So Nariv could definitely act as a blowout style card, but you definitely have to build around it. So could be a possibility. Keep an eye on that card. Next up, we have Perenation. Is 3 colorless, a white, black, and green, so that's Abzan colors. Sorcery. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a hexproof counter and an indestructible counter on it. Okay. Okay, so you're paying a little bit extra in order to play a a reanimation effect. Typically, most good reanimation effects cost 5 mana to cast. This costs 6 mana, so you're paying the same cost as a reanimation spell, +1, and that +1 gives you indestructible and hexproof on the creature that you bring back in. So that can definitely be a very good draw for someone that wants to play Parination over another reanimation spell effect. The only thing to bear in mind is there are a lot of exile effects in Standard right now, so a card like Sunfall will definitely get around Parination, but if your opponent is not playing something like Sunfall, well, then this could be a very good way to get a very sticky creature onto the table. I like that card a lot. For reanimation spell effects, that is a very cool card. Let's move on. Next up is Rot Curse Rakshasa. 1 and 1 black mana for a 5/5 trample. You could just stop talking at that point, and you got me sold on the card. Next up, we have Decayed. Okay, so if this creature attacks once, it gets sacrificed at end of combat. Okay, it's not the best. What else does it have? Renew X and then black. Exile this card from your graveyard. Put a Decayed counter on each of X target creatures. Activate only as a sorcery. Interesting. So you could potentially inflict Decayed onto your opponent's entire team, making it so that their creatures, 1, can't block. That's amazing. And 2, make it so those creatures die if they ever attack. This card would be really good in a black aggro deck that you would want to use the renew effect to make sure your opponent can't block your last attack. That's probably how I would play this card. I wouldn't really care so much about the Decayed effect of dying on death or after combat, but the fact that you can make an entire team not able to block, that really sells me on Rot Curse Rakshasa. Next up, we have Shiko, Paragon of the Way. Look at that. It is a 4/5 for 2 and what's that? It's not Tamer. It's white, red, blue. I can't remember the name, so I'm going to call it America colors right now. So 2 and America for 4/5 flying vigilance spirit dragon. When Shiko enters, exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. Copy it, then you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. Okay, so that's really good. And I will tell you why. Because it says, exile target non-land card with mana value 3 or less. That doesn't say target creature card. It says target non-land card with mana value 3 or less. That can be any spell, any sorcery, instant. It can also be any manner of like enchantment or artifact. Like you can copy a Simulacrum synthesizer with this. You can copy a like an Oblivion Ring style card with this. You can copy so many different interesting cards with Shiko Paragon of the Way. You can build that card into a deck in so many ways. It is a really interesting spell because it will exile a card from your graveyard. It just has to be a non-land card with mana value 3 or less, and there are so many really good cards in Standard right now that fall under that criteria that makes Shiko really, really good. So I am definitely going to try and build a deck around Shiko Paragon of the Way. That's a really good card. Next is Smile at Death. 3 and 2 white enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, return up to 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures. Wow. Okay, that is really strong for like a white weenie or like maybe even like a Boros weenie style deck. So it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, up to 2 creature cards with power 2 or less from the graveyard. back to the battlefield. That is so much recursion, so much persistence every turn. That is ridiculous value. I love everything about that card. 5 mana is a bit much for something that doesn't affect the battlefield immediately, but it is certainly an investment for your next few turns. So definitely something to look at. And also definitely something that makes me want to play more enchantment removal. Alright, next up, we have the Storm Scale Scion. 4 colorless and 2 red for a 4/4 flying dragon. Other dragons you control get +1/+1. Okay, so it's a Dragon Lord. And it has Storm. Wait, it has Storm? When you cast a spell, copy it for each spell cast before the turn. Copies become token. Oh my. Okay. So if you can manage to play a bunch of like 0 or 1 cost spells before dropping the Storm Scale Scion, that's bonkers. Like you can make, like, imagine in a single turn creating 3 or 4 copies of Storm Scale Scion, and also consider playing this in a deck that also has like your creatures have haste, or creatures that enter have haste this turn. That could be a game ender right there. That's a really cool card, especially because every instance of Storm Scale Scion buffs the other instances of Storm Scale Scion. That's kind of amazing. I like it. I like it a lot. Next up, we have Tygam, Master Opportunist. 1 in a blue, 2/2, legendary creature human monk with Flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it. Then exile the spell you cast with 4 time counters on it. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. Okay, let's reread this. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it. Okay, so you still get the original cast of the first spell, or the second spell you cast, but then it creates another instance of that second spell you cast with 4 exile counters, or 4 suspend counters on it. That's kind of cool. I like that. Actually, yeah, I like that a lot. Cause like this is a card that kind of like plays the long game a little bit. So like, say for example, you play Opt, and then you play something like Shock or Lightning Blast or something like that as the second spell. You blast something now, and then you just suspend another version of that spell to be cast at a later time. You can definitely play the strategist with a card like this. I like that card a lot. Yeah, that's definitely a card I think I would be playing. Kaval, Arbiter of Virtue, is 2 and Sultai. It's a 6/6 Spirit Dragon, has Flying and Lifelink. Spells you cast have Delve. Each card you exile from your graveyard while casting the spell pays for 1 of its mana. Okay, so it's like Convoke, but you're convoking from your graveyard. Whenever you cast a spell, you lose life equal to its mana value. Oh, okay. That's interesting. So, you lose life equal to its mana value, but every spell you cast has Delve. I think this card has potential. I don't think it's like amazing, knock your socks off crazy, but I think it has potential in the right build. I kind of want to build with it. Okay, let's check out what it sells. Next up, we have Ugin, Eye of the Storms. This is 7 colorless mana, 7 loyalty, Ugin, that reads, when you cast this spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, exile up to 1 target permanent that's 1 or more colors. Wow. Okay, when you cast a spell, exile up to 1 target permanent. Okay, so it comes in and it immediately exiles something that the opponent has. And then, whenever you cast a colorless spell, so like, and that includes artifacts and things like that, you can then exile another permanent that's 1 or more colors. That's crazy. Okay, that's great. And its abilities read +2, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Awesome. Its 0 is add 3 colorless mana. Okay, cool. It's -11. That's a lot of minus. It says, Search your library for any number of colorless non-land cards, exile them, then shuffle. Until end of turn, you may cast those cards without paying their mana cost. Wow. Okay. So you search your library for any number of colorless cards, exile them, then shuffle, and then you can just play them. That makes me wonder what exactly we could pull off with an Ugin ultimate. But honestly, most of the time when we're playing a Planeswalker, most of the time they never ultimate. So we're going to be looking at like the first two abilities most of the time. That -11 is very, very powerful. But I'm not sure exactly how we're going to leverage that just yet. Like the first thing that comes to mind is like Mightstone and Weakstone, because it's a pretty good like control spell that is colorless. So I think that's, again, like a lot of the cards that we're looking at today is cards that we need to be keeping an eye on. And Ugin, Eye of the Storms, I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on. Next up, Ureni, the Song Unending, is 5 colorless and Temur colors. That's green, blue, and red. It is a 10/10 legendary spirit dragon with flying, protection from white, and from black. Okay. So protection from the colors that it is not. When Ureni enters, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control, where X is the number of lands you control. Oh, wow. Okay. So this definitely wants you to play it off of ramped lands. Not necessarily ramped artifact mana or ramped creature mana, but ramped lands. This comes in and it just bathes the battlefield in Dragonfire. That is a pretty cool card. I like that a lot. Plus it has protection from white and black, which are two of the most prevalent control colors in the game. So that could be pretty cool. I like that. Okay. Alright, so that is actually all of the Mythic cards that we're going to be looking at today. Next we have all of the rares, and we're going to be looking at that in a separate video. So there it is. That's all of our Mythics. We have a lot of really interesting cards to be looking at in the near future. So there you go. Tune in next time for our look at the rare cards in this set.